Hello everyone, Simon Jacobson here. Another episode of Meaningful Live. Look back, spring forward. How to prepare for a new year. This program is dedicated by Alexandra Lazarovich in loving memory of Zalman and Bluma Chaikin. We are a little more than a week before the Hebrew New Year, Rosh Hashanah. And time, especially according to the Kabbalah, according to Jewish mysticism, time is not just an invisible, imaginary force that just allows us to build calendars and deadlines and schedules, but actually time is energy. And this, of course, is mirrored today in physics. Time is energy. And as such, like the flow of energy, people call the river of time, the mystics would call the spiral of time. Because it's not like a river that's just an endless river going from the past to the present, through the present to the future, but it's like a spiral, where the time every year, when it returns to that very point, like your birthday, anniversaries, holidays, there's that energy of that moment that is renewed, but on a different plane. So it's like a cycle, but on a different plane, which also explains the power of a birthday, the power of any significant day. You're not just commemorating and remembering, you're actually recreating, reliving it. So as such, when we talk about the end of the year, as we're approaching the new year means not just a new year, it's actually new energy. In the words of the Arizal, the great of Isaac Luria, the mystic of the 16th century, echoed as well by the great mystical Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi in Tanya, that right before Rosh Hashanah, right before the new year, the entire world goes into a comatose state. Like a coma. Not in a negative way, it's more like the energy, the contract of the energy of the past year is dissipating. And it's anticipating the renewal of that energy, that when the new year begins, a new burst, a new surge, a renewal. Similar to the renewal we have every morning when we wake up. But this is more on an annual level, an annual renewal. So you actually have new opportunities, new possibilities. It's a new moon, a new cycle. So as such, it's seemingly very fitting that we should discuss a bit about looking back at the past year and springing forward as we thrust ahead into the new year. So briefly, this year, especially in the last few years, has been very turbulent. Uncertainty is a good way to just describe it. A year of uncertainty, disruption, in so many different areas. Some of them positive and some of them not so positive. The positive, of course, in technology. You see the new advancements in AI and other areas, things that were not predictable earlier, and only more to come. So it's exciting, new bold frontiers that are being pioneered, which in turn open up many new other opportunities. And in general, coming from post-COVID, which was also a stage of disruption, there's also a certain element of newness that re-embracing. Some people have suffered greatly, but others see it as new opportunities. I can speak for my work. There's never been such a vulnerability and receptivity to spiritual guidance and direction. Many more people looking for meaning and purpose. That's usually what happens with disruption. And then, of course, the disruptions, like the COVID disruption, not a positive one. People died, disease, fear, all the shutdowns, everything closed down. That's a few years ago. And it's extended in a certain way, in different ways. The wars in Ukraine, wars in Gaza. We see the Middle East shifting from a point of view of anti-Semitism, a certain rise in anti-Semitism. And now we're all coming from the shocking assassination of Charlie Kirk just a few days ago, reflecting a polarization that has infected our society. That people can kill another person because they don't agree with that person. Certain political violence that is very unsettling, and we all can agree to that. despite where you stand. And then, of course, the disruptions in general being created by technologies. I mentioned AI, but technologies in general, the move from an old economy to a new economy, with so much more to come. There is a sense of a certain hanging in the air, a certain tension of the unknown, of the uncertain. No question, there have been many blessings and many beautiful things going on in life. But at the same time, you can just sense that we are in this type of transition period. I always like to put it, especially in this part of this first quarter of the new millennium, that from 9/11, from beginning of 9/11, which was right at the turn of the millennium, September 11th, 2001, now we're 24 years later, and that there's a sense of, like, as I said, disruption. And disruptions are really in between places where an old paradigm is giving way to a new paradigm. Now, some people are afraid of the new paradigm. I, for one, come from a tradition, come from a way of thinking that it's only going to get better. But it's up to us. Like they used to say about technology, or they still say, junk in, junk out. If you go in with the wrong attitude, you come out with the wrong attitude. You go in with the right attitude, we can harness all these forces for the best, for the best, to actually turn things positively. This is not to justify or minimize any of the pain. Let's just take the Charlie Kirk story. So a man, yes, had strong conservative views, religious views, that may have been very disagreeable to some. But to go ahead and shoot him in cold blood? And he was not a man that incited violence. He didn't speak about violence. He always engaged with even those that were his adversaries in debate. Even at this very time when he was assassinated, I think it said, prove me wrong. He engaged, and he engaged young minds. And he had strong influence. She may not agree with him. But is this the approach? Is this what we're stooping to? Now, some of you may ask, would I say the same thing for when the other way around? Absolutely. There's some left-wing things that I hear that are make my blood boil. I feel are false narratives and destructive, actually. But it's a whole other thing where you start killing someone that you disagree with. You can disagree and debate. Now, I understand, as Charlie Kirk himself said, that once you dehumanize people by not speaking to them, you turn them into evil people, then what do you think happens next once you dehumanize someone? The mere fact that two people who disagree can speak to each other shows that there's some dignity. I'm allowing you some dignity that you can speak. So from my point of view, it's a tragedy. Well, I think from all points of view, it's a tragedy. But from my point of view, the tragedy can be turned into a positive. Not in any way consoling his wife and his children, and ultimately it is a tragedy, but it can be redeemed if we embrace more than ever the dignity of life, the dignity of each other. We learn from our mistakes, we learn from our errors, we learn from our distorted ways of looking at things. I would like to say the media will have its day of reckoning. The media has become an entertainment center that feeds off blood. I know it sounds strong, and I'm not saying the media is the cause of anyone's murder, but they are not doing their job in offering balanced view on things. Everything is political. Everything is partisan. It's a propaganda. So it feeds the ignorance. It feeds the distorted narratives instead of saying we're going to tell them both sides of the story equally. Do you ever see a media entity do that? Really, literally bring both perspectives and give them equal time and equal legitimacy and equal credibility? No. Not the New York Times, not the Wall Street Journal, not all the media entities, whether it's Fox, CNN, MSNBC. I'm not going to go through all of them. Isn't that what the media is supposed to do? But we live in a partisan time, and people want to see blood. They want to see a Coliseum, gladiators. Boston and New York Yankees, rivalries. That's what works. That's what gets people's attention. That's what gets advertising dollars. I can testify that because I've been on the media many times, and I can tell you that of recent, they only want me if I'm yelling and I'm calling for the blood of the other, without using the word blood, obviously. Yelling and really offending, aggressive, and so on. And if I say I want to be firm, but I'm my style, no, it's not good enough, because they need to be competing at the same time with so many other programs out there. And that's what they feel is drama, is that tension that's created by these arguments. So that's a discussion of its own that needs to be addressed. It's close to my heart per se, because I also am the publisher and chairman of the Allgemeiner, allgemeiner.com. You may or may not know that. That's a newspaper my father founded in 1972. After his death 20 years ago, I assumed leadership, and it's a second hat that I wear in addition to Meaningful Life Center. But I did it as a mitzvah because I saw an opportunity, a media entity, and try to be balanced and do exactly what I just said. Allow both stories to be told. Coming from a media family, my father being a journalist, so it's close to my heart, this idea. And I see the greatest moments in the media in history have been those that stood up against injustice, even when it was not popular. Émile Zola, J'accuse, comes to mind, when his headline in France accused the government of conspiracy against Alfred Dreyfus for anti-Semitic reasons, blaming him, accusing him of being a traitor when it was all false. And other such moments. So it's close to my heart, that idea of finding the truth, but it also fits my other hat, Meaningful Life Center, finding clarity, trying to rise above the din, above the fray, and allow our souls to speak, giving us dignity. More than ever, that dignity is necessary. So as I look back at the past year and look forward to the future, I think that's one of the most important things. It's always been important, but now more than ever. Teach your children from the youngest age the sanctity of life, starting with your own life, the sanctity of your own life. You have a mission, an indispensable mission. You're an indispensable musical note in a cosmic symphony. And the mission you have, only you and only you can accomplish. And as parents, and as educators, and as adults, our job is to help harness, help cultivate, nurture, to nurture like you nurture flowers. I like to think of parents as gardeners and good educators as gardeners in a garden. You don't create flowers, but you water them. You weed them. You make sure there's no negative influences. Allow our children to spread their wings as they grow older with confidence and self-esteem to be the best they can be. And in turn, to make gardens and turn their environments and their corners of the world into beautiful gardens, beautiful spiritual gardens. This is the calling of our time. And when you have that dignity of your own, you recognize that, you start recognizing it in others as well. Because everyone else is also an indispensable musical note or several notes in this grand composition. And we all need each other. We all complement each other. If I were to say what would be the single most important ingredient necessary now, is that. Because it's the greatest preemptive and preventive medicine. First of all, to all our own personal ailments. At the end of the day, all the addictions and all the unhealthy acting out is a result of unhealthy attachments. It's a result of deep hunger in the soul, seeking something. You can't find it in a healthy way, you find it in unhealthy ways. But imagine if you had healthy attachments and healthy connections from the earliest age, and love of yourself. So as you grow older, you're focused on what is my mission in life, instead of jealousy or greed or hoarding or other ways of creating divisiveness among us. Instead of survival of the fittest, a survival-centric life, an egocentric life. It's a mission-centric life, driven by a divine transcendent mission that each of us has. That's the calling of our time. And if you look at all the ailments and all the problems that we're suffering from, that would be prevented by a life of meaning and purpose. No guarantees. We all know there are challenges in life, but you want to increase your odds. And you increase your odds by feeding that message to our young children, and then to ourselves, and to adults, and to everyone around us. So the more disruptions and uncertainty surrounding us, the more the need for establishing those things that are certain. What are that solid ground, the solid rock, the solid bedrock and cornerstones of life? What are your values? Time to start listing them and fighting for them and teaching them and propagating and perpetuating them to anyone you come in contact with. The need to reach out. We have technology. Why don't you send an email several times a week, even a daily, a nice, inspiring, heartwarming email. You don't even have to create your own. Just forward something that came your way. But do it as a routine, as a habit. Share thoughts, insights. Host in your home once a month and alternate with neighbors. A beautiful event. Invite guests, neighbors, friends, strangers, co-workers. And let's just talk. It can be around the book. It can be around ideas. Nice, beautiful evenings. There's so many ways we can be proactive in bringing light into this world, in creating the garden, in your own environment, in your own corner of the world. And by effect, the domino, butterfly, ripple effect, affecting others as well. At the end of the day, there are only that many degrees of separation between us. What is it, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, 5 degrees? So it's a matter of taking initiative. There are 3 types of people, as we know. People who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and today's a lot of watching things happen, and people who ask what happened. Be someone that makes things happen. That is the best resolution for a new year. Use the new energy that's coming into your life as a new opportunity, new possibilities. Don't feel the cynical attitude, the more things change, the more they stay the same. No, there's newness in the air. There's revolution in the air. There's possibilities. But you have to have that attitude. You have to be open to them. Because if you're a creature of habit, then your habits take over. Like I always like to say, if nothing changes, they say. I like to put it this way. If you think what you thought, and you say what you said, and you do what you did, you know what you're going to have? What you had. It's a mathematical certainty. Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. Think differently, speak differently, do differently, and you'll have different results. May you be blessed with a beautiful new year. We'll still have a program next week before Rosh Hashanah, but we're getting closer. So as the curtain comes down and a new curtain opens, and a new life emerges, use it well and respect the dignity. We are all created equal, and we are all endowed by the Creator with inalienable rights. Respect them within yourself, respect them within others, and we can create a far more beautiful world with all the gifts and tools and instruments that we have today. Be well and be blessed. This has been Simon Jacobson, meaningfullife.com. If you've enjoyed and found this message meaningful, please share it with others. Please subscribe to our offerings, to our YouTube channel. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your comments. Be well. Thank you.